that.
Dun,
You
dun.
don't do that.
What did she say? What did she say? I'm not even giving you always.
Here we go. Okay. All right. When the greatest American writer of the 20th century, William Faulkner, was asked what advice he could give to beginning authors, Faulkner responded, read, read, read. Read the classics and see how they do it. That's not my advice to writers, that's my advice to all human beings. Faulkner's point is that reading, specifically the classics, is a means for personal growth and development, not just a form of entertainment, but a very keystone of humanity. Today I will persuade you to read classic literature for specific benefits: strengthening of the mind and critical thinking, the enrichment of vocabulary, and the development of empathy. I will end with some reading suggestions in numerous genres so everyone can find something that his or her taste. Everyone here reads every day, whether it's a billboard, a text message, or a label on a can of food. People read to keep abreast of current events and information or for pleasure. What I speak of today is accessible and realizable to all. I have a bachelor's in English, and I have been reading and studying literature for over a decade. So now I will persuade you to read classic literature to obtain some significant benefits. First, the difficult pleasure. The great literary critic Harold Bloom notes that we read deeply for varied reasons, yet the strongest, most authentic motive for deep reading is the search for a difficult pleasure. I've heard many people complain about books being too long, too wordy, too unnecessarily arduous. But I ask, what is more pleasurable? Is it jogging to the end of the block or finishing a 15K? Is it microwaving a dinner or perfecting a recipe? These difficulties stimulate the brain, open new neural pathways, and provide a heightened sense of achievement. The brain, like the heart and the skeletal muscles, strengthens with vigorous exercise. To master the difficulty of the so-called heavier books takes practice, as any skill or exercise does. Paul and Elder, members of the critical thinking community, cite reading classic literature as the #1 strategy for engaging mental processing, observation, focus, and the retention of ideas and facts. So one benefit is the difficult pleasure and the strengthening of the mind. Another benefit is the enrichment of vocabulary. Reading, of course, brings us into contact with new words. A broad vocabulary itself has many ancillary benefits. We think and we speak in words, and knowing more words enables us to describe and articulate more effectively. One of the touchstones for literature is its incisive language, and here you will discover new words. Learning but one new word a day is a memory exercise that keeps the brain active and even thickens the gray matter, which of course helps to prevent such diseases as Alzheimer's. We all talk to ourselves. That's exactly what thinking is. A richer vocabulary opens avenues of new perceptions, aids us in understanding our emotions, and assists in our learning the grounds of our own opinions, what we feel, what we mean, and what we want to communicate to others, thereby improving our relationships with other people. So now we know about critical thinking and the benefits of a robust vocabulary. Another reward is the development or the deepening of an empathetic response. 3 different psychological studies all demonstrated that individuals who read fiction appear to be better able to understand other people, empathize with them, and view the world from their perspective. Annie Paul, professor of psychological studies at Liverpool University, remarks that the thing about novels is that they give you a view of an inner world that's not on show. Often what you learn from novels is to be a bit baffled. A novel tells you not to judge. An illustration of this occurs in Charles Dickens' novel, Great Expectations. Pip is embarrassed by Joe because he's crude and poor, and Pip is on his way up in society. He's going to become a gentleman. Reading it, you ask yourself, what's it like to be Pip? What's it like to be Joe? Would I behave better than Pip in this situation? It's the spaces which emerge between the two characters where judgment is suspended and empathy occurs. We seldom, if ever, care to have pity from another person, but we all experience a need to be understood and respected as individuals. It is only just that we should honor the likewise dignified wishes of others. Reading literature is in no way the only means for developing empathy. Much is required from aptitude and other psychological factors. Yet reading fiction is meeting people. One hopes interesting, engaging people. And if we understand people in literature, whether it's their cruelty, their absurdity, their love, their confusion, their frustration, research demonstrates that we easily transfer this understanding to our own world. In some, we see that reading exercises the mind and broadens the emotional range. Some suggestions from various genres. If you like romance with some scheming and plotting, you've got Laplace's Dangerous Liaisons. If you like comedy, there's Dickens' Pickwick Papers. If you like fantasy, there's E.T.A. Hoffman's Tales. If you like war and adventure stories, the Iliad. If you like social drama with a strong, independent female, Austen's Emma. If you like detective and crime novels, Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone. Those are some suggestions of some great literature. And so remember that reading should be a pleasure, and if it is made a more difficult, challenging pleasure, you will receive rewards unique to the deep reading of literature. The classics are determined not by professors and professional literary critics. They are ensured perpetual life by the everyday, common, enthusiastic reader. Professional critics may explicate these works, but general readers are also critics and inherently have the tools for judging any literary work. But the acquisition of these judicious skills takes some time and effort, and would not be half as worthwhile if it were not so. There are hundreds of great novels, not to mention poetry and nonfiction. So as Faulkner urged, read, 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 and challenge yourselves. You deserve it and will be rewarded. Thank you.